The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.
Today is Wednesday, January 11th, 2023. Thank you so much for joining me. We have a jam-packed show from what's happening on the international stage, the attempted insurrection in Brazil, to what's happening on the national stage. Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy has removed Democrats from some key committees while still not knowing what to do with George Santos. And then we go locally to the state of Mississippi, where I had an opportunity to interview Marquell, one of the key organizers in the state, as he recounts harrowing and disturbing stories of how police treat Black life in Mississippi.
In 2006, they approached Debbie Logan sitting on her porch for a misdemeanor, hog-tied her and killed her in the back of the police car. In 2018, they approached her son for the exact same thing. His last words was, "Please don't kill me like you killed my mom." They killed him. It's on video. They brought him in the jail dead, and the lady in the jail wouldn't even take him because she said he was already dead. And still, they're working, and ain't nobody went to jail.
I had an opportunity to meet and work with Brother Marquell during the protests on behalf of 15-year-old Jaheim McMillan that are actually still ongoing as they attempt to get justice for this 15-year-old child who was murdered by the Gulfport Police Department. I'll have the first part of that interview later on in today's episode. But first, President Biden responds to allegations that he mishandled classified documents.
I don't know what's in the documents. I've turned over the boxes. They've turned over the boxes to the archives, and we're cooperating fully with the review, and which I hope will be finished soon.
This was President Biden speaking to reporters at the White House as they asked questions pertaining to the documents that were recovered from one of its private offices. Now, these documents date back to his time as vice president, and according to CBS News, the documents were reported to the president, now sitting President Joe Biden, and the documents were returned the very next day. Here is Kevin McCarthy, who is just barely the Speaker of the House, giving commentary about these documents as opposed to the documents from President Donald Trump.
Did Barack Obama have some of this when he was writing his book? Does Hillary Clinton have some? And you know what? All those people have been in government for years. President Trump just ran for president. You think he knew everything? You think he went and moved his own boxes? And you know what? They were locked away. Biden's were not. And how many years after did he have them?
Now, one major distinction here, as we discussed yesterday, is the fact that, well, Donald Trump had over 300 documents and refused to turn them over even after they were requested by investigators. I do find it funny that the Republican Party is still doing whatever they can to hold on to Donald Trump and to protect him and to ensure that if anything is laid at his feet, any type of accusation is laid at his feet, the Republican Party is still more than willing to do whatever is necessary, whatever whataboutism they have to engage in order to protect Donald Trump, especially when Donald Trump is the biggest loser of this election cycle. Donald Trump absolutely has nothing to offer the Republican Party except for thinly veiled threats. His influence does not go nearly as far as it used to. He is pretty much the laughingstock of the country. He's apparently either so broke or just so money hungry that he's selling baseball cards of himself. That actually these images that were on these NFT baseball cards that he sold, they were copyright infringements. So it is fascinating that the Republican leadership, when they have an opportunity to get away from Donald Trump, who, like Senator Lindsey Graham said back in 2015, if Donald Trump is elected, he will be the end of the Republican Party. But it seems that people like Kevin McCarthy, they simply do not have the backbone or the spine necessary to give up their addiction to Donald Trump. Whatever it is that Donald Trump has on these people, it's mighty compelling because they're sticking with him when they absolutely have an opportunity to break away from his madness. Donald Trump does not carry the weight that he did. I mean, he carries the physical weight, but he does not carry the influence that he did just 2 years ago. And what's more, Donald Trump is mired in an investigation around defrauding his own supporters to the tune of $250 million in the so-called Stop the Steal movement. Take a listen to this clip of a neighbor of a victim, one of the victims. And I use the word victims pretty lightly here because if you willingly gave Donald Trump $5, $10, $20,000, $30,000, in this case, $75,000. Here is the neighbor of a man who gave $75,000 to Donald Trump, losing more than just the money he donated to Donald Trump's Stop the Steal campaign.
I live in a pretty nice neighborhood, and all the neighbors, we all know each other. Last night about 9 p.m., I see a U-Haul in front of a neighbor's house. It was just 2 houses down. This morning, I grabbed the paper, and I see her again, so I kind of just walk over. I'm like, hey, what's going on? I didn't know you guys were selling your house. And she said, oh, we're not selling the house. I'm moving. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry. She goes, my fucking husband took a second mortgage out on our home. They were $15,000 away from paying off their house. He took a second mortgage out on their home. He donated $75,000 to Trump's scam, Stop the Steal scam, and she was so pissed. She was beside herself. She was leaving him.
Now, that's just $75,000 of the $250 million that Donald Trump, or actually Donald Trump Jr., has no idea where it went. This is who the Republican Party right now today is defending. Now, yesterday I said Donald Trump is not the biggest threat to this country anymore, and I still stand by that, not because he isn't a problem. He should be prosecuted and he should go to jail for the insurrection. But the fact of the matter is his influence is not worth what the Republican Party is currently doing to protect him. He does not have the ability to help them win elections. He's most of his endorsements lost in the midterms, but still, people like Kevin McCarthy are standing by. And here's the thing. It's not even so much that they're doing this just to stand by Donald Trump. This is them doing it as politics as usual. The House Oversight Committee, now underneath the control of the Republican Party, they have launched an investigation into these documents with Joe Biden. Now, again, like I said yesterday, I don't really care how this plays out with these documents. Whatever is. If Joe Biden mishandled documents, then fine. But what I can't stomach and what I don't deal with are false equivalences. You're not going to tell me that Donald Trump trying to hide and refusing to turn over 350 documents is the same as Joe Biden turning over 12 documents the same day they discover them. See, that's the problem I have with this story. The problem that I have with it is that our media and our politicians and our system, as usual, they are so used to drawing false equivalences in every single scenario to create the appearance that they're being fair and balanced. They're doing it here with these documents, and they do it with stories that are far more reaching and far more important than these particular documents from Joe Biden. But it's the act, it's the art of false equivalences that causes us to get nowhere in this country on any issue. It's good for clicks for the media. It's good for a 24-hour news cycle for politicians. The false equivalences that this system allows to permeate to the top of the conversation. I mean, over the next 2 years, we are going to be talking nonstop about these documents that Joe Biden had in his office that were turned over the same day. Meanwhile, we have zero accountability for someone like Donald Trump. Meanwhile, we're not getting anything done that actually matters to Americans, to human beings. We're not getting anywhere in this country, and the false equivalences, they're at the core of it. That's why we can't get anything done. Now back to the state of Mississippi. I had a chance to speak with Marquell Bridges of Building Bridges, one of the key organizers in the state that is fighting, for justice on behalf of Black life that is taken, whether it's taken by police officers, whether it's taken by ye random white person, as we've covered the uptick in a number of white people who are getting away with murder of Black life. But he's also fighting on behalf of Black families that lost their children to gun violence, to other Black people. We begin with an update from Brother Marquell on the fight for justice on behalf of 15-year-old Jaheim McMillan, who I went to Mississippi to try to do my part. You remember he was killed in front of the Family Dollar store, the very store his mother shopped at on a regular basis.
We're still waiting on body cam to be released. We know now that Adam Cooper, the police chief, and Sean Tyndall, the public safety commissioner, lied. They said before the end of the year. Here it is. The 10th or the 11th of January, and we're still waiting on it to be released. It was a young lady in Jackson who had, what's looking like a mental health episode, and took a hostage, and police, tragic situation, they resulted in them shooting her in the face. They released that the next day. So, we know what's going on. We know they're lying and covering up. So the Mateen family, Miss Katrina Mateen, all my love, she's continuing to push her son's name. And I just continue to support her in this fight. We're going to stay consistent with the protests, with challenging legislation and our people to stand up, and to these people in the political positions to do the right thing. But they haven't been forthcoming with anything as of yet.
The Gulfport Police Department and the Mississippi Bureau of Investigation, they have not been forthcoming with anything yet. It's amazing what they do with body cam footage. Whenever they actually have it on and they haven't cut it off, you will notice that the police release it almost instantly if it corroborates their story. But when it doesn't, there seems to be no amount of time that they can hold out and wait until they decide to eventually, if ever, release the video. One of the most heart-wrenching but also encouraging aspects of police violence against Black life comes from the very grim yet sobering reality about the fraternity of families who have suffered from the police violence, from the loss of the lives of their children, and who have come together as a result in order to help the next family. It's almost like a fraternity of families who bring each other support in these most difficult times. Here is Brother Marquell Bridges discussing some of those key families that came to the city of Gulfport during the protests for Jaheim McMillan.
I'll start with the Families United, Jacob Blake, Bianca Austin, Cortez Rice, Deanna Joseph, Andrew Joseph. They've surrounded myself and the Mateen family, the McMillan family, just with love, with unfortunate know-how of having experienced the same hurt, same pain, same injustice. And it's been a blessing to know them. That I love consistency, as you know, and they've been consistent in boots on the ground in Gulfport, Mississippi, and we're forever grateful. Same to be said for Dr. Melina Abdullah with BLM Grassroots, Pastor Carl Soto with BLM Restoration Polk. He's been consistent, just a godsend with helping these other families that these cases that I have, just bringing them back to the forefront, getting them lawyers, actually getting them justice. So those people have been vital and key.
I want to highlight a couple of names that Brother Marquell just dropped. Jacob Blake. Jacob Blake Sr., if you recall, his son, Jacob Blake Jr., was shot multiple times by police and was paralyzed for life in Kenosha, Wisconsin. He also mentioned Andrew Joseph and Deanna Joseph. They are the parents of Andrew Joseph III, the 14-year-old who was killed back in 2014. It took them 8 years to finally get justice for their son. Both of those families, along with other families, showed up to Gulfport to support the family of Jaheim McMillan. Those fraternities of families, they travel as a group now. They travel as a pack. They protect each other, they encourage each other, and they unfortunately go around the country because they have to bring new families into their fold, new families of victims of police violence. You may recall the story of DeMontario Gibson. He was the FedEx driver from Mississippi, Brookhaven, Mississippi, my hometown, where he was trying to finish his shift and he was attacked, shot at multiple times. His truck was hit multiple times by two white men in a fashion very similar to that of the Ahmaud Arbery shooting in Brunswick, Georgia. Brother Marquell Bridges was one of the key organizers who stayed on the ground for 9 months. It took 9 months for charges to be brought. in that case?
Let's just talk about Black mothers and Black sons for a second, because what allowed me to be able to do that was Miss Sharon McClendon and DeMonterio Gibson's mom, and DeMonterio himself, for one, being willing to open their platform and their limelight to other cases, not being selfish and wanting to help all of Brookhaven. So it created an organic relationship with the community that we were able to move around and do what needed to be done and find out what we needed to find out. It was a wonderful learning experience, learning curve. We got to see real racism. We got to see real Sambo mentality and what we are up against as a Black man walking around with a white mindset, a colonial mindset, a colonizer's mindset. Where we're at now is the charges were upgraded to the proper charges. Still waiting to see if FBI gonna pick it up as a hate crime, but they did finally charge him with attempted murder and attempted conspiracy to commit murder, which they were just arraigned and both pled not guilty. But that we're confident that the evidence is gonna show exactly what they did. And we're confident in Carlos Moore to be due diligent and show his resolve and show his intelligence and his know-how in the case, in his part of the case, which is the civil suit. We don't like FedEx treatment of DeMonterio. So it's still a lot of working parts, but he needs court support, and that's where we're at, the actual trial, waiting on the actual trial date so we can just support him through this last phase of getting justice and accountability.
All up and down the state of Mississippi, there's something that's happening. It is the devaluation of Black life to the point where anyone can get away with killing a Black person, especially if you're white, especially if you're the police officers. Listening to Marquell recount some of the stories is disturbing. Just listen to a handful of the stories that are coming out of Mississippi alone that Marquell, Bridges, and other organizers are desperately trying to bring attention to.
We just had in 2022 in Taylorsville, Mississippi, Rasheen Carter, a young Black, 25-year-old Black male, just trying to work and take care of his 7-year-old daughter. She just turned 7. She just had a birthday, and her father's not there. But he left work, texted his mom. Him and his coworker had a dispute, saying his ride to work had a dispute, saying he couldn't ride with him any longer. He left walking. He texted his mom, 3 trucks full of white men were trying to harm him. She directed him to go to the police station because she was in Pennsylvania working. He does. The police turn him away. He goes to a local dollar store. The person in the dollar store calls the men. His mom instructs him to go back to the police station. He goes back to the police station. They turn him away a second time and don't assist him a second time. This is October 2nd, and that's the day he went missing. October 2nd, 2022, Taylorsville, Mississippi. He went missing, and he was found November 6th, dismembered. It's horrific. I don't want to state too much about the case, but it was horrific, and we're just waiting on the details. NBI still has his body. His mom hasn't been allowed the chance to grieve or bury her son. We know she has retained Ben Crump, and he's also planning on doing an independent autopsy, but even that's further more time where she can't go through the grieving process, let alone even get any answers about her son. They disrespected her at every turn. They said she failed him, and she was in Pennsylvania working when, in fact, Taylorsville Police Department failed him. It's all too often Miss Monica Cameron in Jackson, Mississippi, Rankin County. Her son was killed by Rankin County Sheriff in front of her and in front of his grandparents. You know, they murdered him. He was just fine. They approached him for some BS misdemeanor, which appears to be their MO. And they beat him. They crushed his skull, crushed his femur, which we know is the hardest bone in the body to break, broke his nose. If you go look at his mom's GoFundMe, she has all the pictures. It was just a horrific thing what they did to him. He actually left her yard on life support. And the whole time while she is inside changing to come down and bail her son out for a BS charge, they're on the other side of the police vehicles killing him. Her and her dad and her mom hasn't been asleep. Every time they close their eyes, that's what they see. In 2006, they approached Debbie Logan sitting on her porch for a misdemeanor, hogtied her and killed her in the back of the police car. In 2018, they approached her son for the exact same thing. His last words was, "Please don't kill me like you killed my mom." They killed him. It's on video. They brought him in the jail dead, and the lady in the jail wouldn't even take him because she said he was already dead. And still they're working, and ain't nobody went to jail.
I'm going to continue this interview tomorrow as we discuss the many families that he's working with directly, as well as the threats that he has received from a police chief in the city of Brookhaven, Mississippi, who called him out by name because of his organizing and threatened to put his foot, where. One of the main things that Marquell is asking for are Black mental health counselors who can connect with the families, the many families that he's working with, and help them deal with the PTSD that clearly comes as a result of your children, of your child being killed or your loved one being killed by the police.
Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and get twice the content and unfiltered interviews without any of the commercial interruptions. Welcome back to The Benjamin Dixon Show. Visit us online at thebenjamindixonshow.com.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. I need to fly up to the 60,000 foot level and give you some international coverage, particularly as it pertains to Brazil, the election and the subsequent insurrection that took place that mirrored January 6th. Now, I've been harping on this global pan-reactionary movement of far right-wing authoritarians, election deniers, anti-vax, anti-science, patriarchal alliance that comes in the form of Vladimir Putin, that comes in the form of Donald Trump, that comes in the form of Jair Bolsonaro, who just lost his election in Brazil, and in the form of Viktor Orban, along with others. The other part of this cabal is Elon Musk and the right-wing billionaires who are gobbling up media companies along with social media companies and lending their services to the efforts of these far right-wing reactionaries. Listen to this clip of Mehdi Hasan of MSNBC as he outlines how neither January 6, 2021 or the recent insurrection in Brazil could have happened without the organizing power of Twitter, and how it is that Elon Musk is aiding and abetting the very people who want to undermine democracy globally.
But one of the most important similarities is that neither attack could have happened without right-wing organizers rallying support on social media and on Twitter specifically. As the Washington Post reports, researchers in Brazil said Twitter in particular was a place to watch because it is heavily used by a circle of right-wing influencers, allies of the former President Bolsonaro who continue to promote election fraud narratives. Elon Musk did not own Twitter when our capital was attacked 2 years ago, but he does now, as rioters sympathetic to the election lies of the former Brazilian president stormed government buildings on Sunday. Musk wrote this on Twitter: "I hope that the people of Brazil are able to resolve matters peacefully." Well, I think we all hope that. Good tweet, Elon. But just about a month before the riot, it was Elon Musk on Twitter spreading talking points just like the ones from the election deniers. Replying, he loves replying, to a right-wing personality, Musk wrote, "I've seen a lot of concerning tweets about the recent Brazil election. If those tweets are accurate, it's possible that Twitter personnel gave preference to left-wing candidates." Before Musk bought Twitter, the site had entire teams dedicated to what they called content moderation. Among other things, staff would look out for posts that spread misinformation or incited violence. Elon Musk gutted those teams. This is reporting from Politico. Since Elon Musk took over Twitter in late October, the world's richest man has slashed the internal teams in charge of combating misinformation, including individuals in charge of the company's oversight in Brazil, according to two people with knowledge of those layoffs who spoke on the condition of anonymity. The events here in Washington on January the 6th, 2021 happened despite Twitter having guardrails like content moderation. Thanks to Musk, a lot of those guardrails are gone in the US, in Brazil, and around the world.
Now I played this clip and I played the link that I played because I want you to really take into consideration what it means to have one of the most powerful media platforms, social media platforms, communication platforms in the world, in the history of the world, now underneath the full control of a man who has completely aligned his life with the far right-wing reactionaries that we're fighting on the international level, that we're fighting on the national level, and that we're fighting on the local level. I want to emphasize this really clearly. The same people that we're fighting against in terms of black life, the people we're fighting against to stop killing us, whether they be police officers or whether they be ye old standard white person, they are aligned with this far right-wing reactionary movement that is getting air support from Elon Musk. The people who are attacking our LGBTQIA friends, they are aligned with this far right-wing reactionary getting material financial support from Elon Musk, spending $44 billion to create a platform that does two things. By taking over Twitter, he has neutralized our ability on the left to organize as effectively. He has throttled our reach and our ability to connect with each other, and he is simultaneously giving air support, alley-ooping, retweeting, liking, and replying to every fascist on the platform. And last but not least, the very people who are aligned with the likes of Viktor Orban, the Prime Minister of Hungary, former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro, Russian Federation President Vladimir Putin. Those are the people who are aligned with Elon Musk, and that is for whom Elon Musk purchased Twitter. So on the international level, as well as the national level, as well as the local level, we are encompassed about by far right-wing reactionaries who want several things. Number one, they want black people to just shut up and entertain them. Shut up and play basketball. Don't complain about black life being taken by the police or otherwise. Just take it. Unless you're going to talk about black on black crime, anything that you can do to vilify the black community further, they will give you an alley-oop. See Candace Owens. Number two, they are after the LGBTQIA community. And I don't care if you're gay or not, straight or not, cis or trans. You cannot stand idly by while these people target and murder anybody. These are the people who are anti-science, anti-vax. They are anti-democracy. They understand that democracy itself is a threat to their ideology. Therefore, it is a threat to their power structure. And this is who Elon Musk is bosom buddies with. We have to internationalize our fight. We must find solidarity on the global level with people who are going to fight for justice, liberation, and the human rights of all people. That's not Elon Musk. That's certainly not Vladimir Putin. It's not Viktor Orban. It's not Jair Bolsonaro, who's eating KFC down in Orlando, Florida now because he lost his election, which generally would be good news for us, except for the fact that the same right-wing reactionaries who were behind January 6th in the United States were behind the insurrection that just took place in Brazil over the weekend. These are the same religious zealots who use the Bible to call for the murder of the LGBTQIA community, and they do so in the name of protecting children. Meanwhile, they absolutely send their children to be prayed to priests in the Catholic Church, pastors in the Southern Baptist Church, and in the Mormon Church, all underneath investigation right now. These are the people who want complete and total control over society. They are anti-science, they are anti-black, they are anti-progress, and these are the friends of Elon Musk. Patrons, stay tuned. I have a lot more to go over with you. If you want access to that, patreon.com/the BPD show, where you get twice the content, none of the commercial interruptions, and you get access to our patron party, which, correct me if I'm wrong, David, but I think it's coming up this weekend, if not next. We're having a patron party coming up soon. DJ Exclusive is back, and we're excited about it. Patreon.com/the BPD show. Everyone else, I'll see you tomorrow.